Alright? We've done it. Spectre. We've reached sort of the end. I mean, there's one movie left, but I've made it through this journey of the history of Bond. 25 Bond movies. Counting Never Say Never Again. Here I am. Spectre, released in 2015. Daniel Craig returns as James Bond. And, admittedly, from the start of this film, I was hooked. Because you put the film in, you put the disc in, you push play, and what's the first thing you see besides the, MGM 20th Century Fox logos? The gun barrel. They put the gun barrel, finally, put the gun barrel at the beginning of the film. I know that there was sort of a variation on a gun barrel in Casino Royale, and then they put the gun barrels at the end for Quantum and Skyfall. But here it is, beginning of the film. And we're now in Mexico City, where Bond is hunting down a man named Sciarra. There's a fantastic rooftop chase, which I think is done pretty well. It's not as good as the opening to Skyfall, but still pretty good. And then he kills Sciarra. We go into our opening credits, which is a song sung by Sam Mendes. I'm not the biggest fan of him, and the song admittedly doesn't hit very well for me, but I do like the visuals in this with the octopus and everything, and very well done. I gotta say though, once I started getting into the James Bond stuff, I didn't know what Spectre was. But once that happened, once I started getting to know what Spectre was, this was the return. Spectre. This was gonna be classic James Bond, and in a way, it is. You get a very classic thing. There's a train fight. You get the Blofeld silhouetted. And by the way, going into this, I did my research. Christoph Waltz was quoted as saying, because everybody starts saying, oh, he's Blofeld, he's Blofeld. I'm not Blofeld, I'm playing an original character named Franz Oberhauser. From the moment you see him on screen, he's silhouetted, you don't see his face, he's either seen from behind or he's silhouetted, you don't see him. You know it's going to be Blofeld. And if you didn't already know, the subtitles spoil it. When he talks, it says Blofeld, comma, and then his words. And I do feel like they handled the Blofeld thing a little wrong. They should have been calling him Blofeld from the beginning, but they wanted to get the fans, trick the fans. But they should have been calling him Blofeld, because then once it's revealed who he is to Bond, that's more personal to him. I'm just saying. But, as a Blofeld, Christoph Waltz he's okay. I still say Telly Savalas is the best. But he's okay. So Bond has been put on suspension, or leave, as they say. And there's this guy named Max Denby, who Bond calls C, and everyone else just seems to call him C, even though there's no reason to call him C, except for a line that M says at the end of the film. Oh, I know why they call it what the C stands for. Careless. And I'm like, yeah, that's a little funny, but when you think about it, he was just named C by Bond. There's no other reason why to call him C. Doesn't stand for anything. He said, I think I'll call you C. So, he starts investigating the secret, organization, trying to figure out, we find out that Judi Dench's M is the one who sent him out to kill Sciarra. He goes to Sciarra's funeral. He meets up with Sciarra's wife, or widow, played by Monica Bellucci. And she was originally supposed to be a Bond girl, I think, back in the Brosnan days, where she said she was too old. But she kills it here. She is very smoking hot here. So I think it works. And they talk about the Pale King. It is revealed that the Pale King is Mr. White. And I went, Mr. White? And then I started to put the pieces together in my head, and I said to myself, they're going to take everything previously established in the first 3 films and connect it to Spectre. They're going to make it look like this was planned from the beginning, and it wasn't, but they're going to make it look like it was. And that's what it was. They link everything. Mr. White, Vesper, Le Chiffre, Dominic Green, all which makes very much sense. And then they put Silva in there, and I'm going, no, that doesn't make any sense. Silva wasn't working for anyone. He had a personal agenda. He wanted to kill M. It doesn't make any sense that Silva was connected. And then he makes it sound, then they when Blofeld confronts him, he makes it sound as if it was his idea to kill M. No, I watched Skyfall a couple nights ago. It's fresh in my mind. That was a personal vendetta. Had nothing to do with Blofeld. They're trying to retcon stuff to connect everything together, and that effect, at least with Silva, everything else works because it's revealed that Quantum is a subsidiary of Spectre. So that works, but when you try to put Silva in there, it just doesn't work. We also introduced to the Henchman Mr Hinks, which I think is supposed to be a modern take on Jaws, although you can call him Claws, or Fingers, or Nails, because he's got these 2 nails, which he only uses once to poke some guy's eye out, and we do get a nice train fight with him and Bond. Not as good as the one between Bond and Red Grant, and From Russia with Love, mind you, but still pretty good. I also get introduced to Madeleine Swann, who is Mr. White's daughter. And there's the scene where he goes to talk to Mr. White. He hands Mr. White his gun. It revealed that Mr. White has some kind of poison in him. And then he shoots himself with Bond's gun. And there is there's a camera there, which is brought back later, but it really doesn't do anything. She turned, it's supposed to show, I think what it's supposed to do is to show her that Bond gave Mr. White, her father, the gun that killed him, but it doesn't do anything. She ends up helping Bond anyway. And meanwhile, C wants to shut down the 00 program and bring in this satellite thing called Nine Eyes that monitors everything and everybody and could be more efficient. Now, here's something that I caught on to the moment he was introduced. Because they made such a, he was so prominent in the first scene introduced to Bond. I said, there's something about him. Something not right, something crooked. And as the film went forward, I'm saying, there's something, he's crooked. There's good. And it's revealed he is part of Spectre. Shock of all shocks. And yes, this Nine Eyes thing is so that Blofeld can keep an eye on stuff. And it's revealed that Blofeld, or Oberhauser, has been creating a terrorist attacks so that the Nine Eyes is, they have a reason to launch the Nine Eyes. And eventually, Bond gets to Blofeld. We find out the history between them. Oberhauser's father kind of took in Bond, temporarily adopted him. And then there was an accident, quote-unquote accident, in which there was an avalanche that supposedly killed Oberhauser and his son, Franz. And so it was staged, apparently, so that Blofeld could escape. And there's a scene where Bond is in a chair, a la classic Bond. He's going to be tortured, right? Cat jumps on him, and he calls him Franz, and he goes, Franz Oberhauser died in an avalanche with his father. I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld. And I feel like this was supposed to be some big reveal, but you already knew it. We're not stupid. They should have called him Blofeld from the beginning, and then when they revealed who he was to Bond, it hits more personally. That's my foster brother. And I already knew this going in about the brother thing, right? I know there's a lot of controversy with that. No, in no way does this say they're actually blood related. Bond was adopted temporarily by his father, by Oberhauser's father. They're not related in any blood way. They're not actually brothers. It's just something to make it a little more personal, and I think it works. What doesn't work, for me at least, is the romance between Bond and Swann. Because Bond has this watch that Q gave him, and she's like, I love you. And he's like, because it's supposed to be some kind of thing where a needle goes in his neck, and it's supposed to make him forget who he's looking at, but it doesn't work. He's like, I'll never forget who you are. And like, gives her the watch, she throws it, it explodes, and Blofeld supposedly dies. But, he's not dead because we got, 20 more minutes of this movie left. And this last 20 to 30 minutes of the film is actually pretty good. You have M, Moneypenny, Q, and Tanner in action, helping Bond. And even M confronts C and kills C. I believe he kills him. I kind of missed it. If he kills him or arrests him, I don't know. But he does confront C, and because you have Q hacking the thing. We do get Bond earlier in the film racing around in an Aston Martin DB10. The car chase, the second half of the car chase with Mr. Hinks was pretty good, but the first part is played for laughs, and it just made me roll my eyes. Once it gets very serious, and then when he jumps off into the Thames, or whatever it is, or into the little river there, and jumps off, it's pretty good. He goes, banana. And I do like the boat chase, where Bond and Swann are in this boat in the Thames, chasing Blofeld, who's in his helicopter, and he's firing at the helicopter to crash. And then when Bond gets to him on the bridge, he tells Bond, do it. Kill me. Do it. Bond doesn't do it. Instead, he decides, out of bullets, and then he's going to hand him over to M and retire with Swann, which again doesn't feel justified. I do like, though, when we get to the old MI6 building, when they have their confrontation, he goes through this area where you see pictures of Vesper and Judi Dench's M and Le Chiffre and everybody he's faced. I think this was supposed to be the last one. But the ending with him just walking off doesn't seem justified to me, because it's like he just met, again, much like with Tracy, he just met this woman and all of a sudden he's so in love with her. At least in this one, though, he doesn't sleep with anyone else with her after the fact that he's met her. So that kind of works. It makes a little more sense, other than, Lazenby's Bond sleeping with almost every woman at the, But, I don't know. But I really like that everyone got involved in this. Like, everyone. M, Tanner, Moneypenny. We also see Moneypenny has a man in her apartment. We get Bond's apartment in this, which also doesn't make any sense. Because how shortly after Skyfall is this? He had no apartment. And they say that there was stuff sent from Skyfall to his mailbox. He did not have an apartment. He was living in a hotel. So I don't know. But he now has an apartment and somehow has mail. Unless the mail was sent to the new MI6, I don't know. But the film does end pretty good, because they do show it earlier when he goes to CQ. The DB5 from the last film is being repaired. He crashed the DB10 into the river there, so that's gone. But in the end, he goes, I came back for something. It's the DB5, and he and Swann are in a car. The Bond theme plays. They drive off. You see the license plate, and it's fantastic. Great ending. It's not the end of his Bond, though, because as we know, No Time to Die is coming up, but still good. I thought this film was good. It's not the best of the Bond films. I still think that Casino Royale is the best of the Craig Bond films, followed by Skyfall. I think that this is definitely better than Quantum. You could see the stunts going on. Very good stunts. Same director as Skyfall, and it's done very well. I just don't think it's as good as Skyfall. They try to, connect everything, and to me it just didn't work. Blofeld, while being Blofeld, isn't the best villain that I gotta wrap this up because I gotta get going soon. But isn't the best iteration of Blofeld. I still think it's Telly Savalas, but he's still very good. But yeah, and I think Craig is still very good as Bond. The side characters are all done very well. The action is very good. Batista as Mr. Hinks is great. He's supposed to be like a modern day Jaws, but we don't see him after the train thing. And I still assume he's going to come back in the final act. We don't see him afterwards. He gets yanked out. And he only says one word, "Sheet," as he gets pulled out from his neck. I did laugh at that. I'm like, okay, if you're going to have one word, have your henchman say one word, "Sheet," as he's getting pulled out, is a funny way to do it. And I did like the cameo from Judi Dench on the video, telling him kills Kiara. All pretty good. Solid film for me in the Bond series. Solid film. Might be in my top 20. I don't know yet. It's not in the lower echelon of Bond films, I'll tell you that much. Most likely it will be in the top 20. So, because I got to get going, I'm a little pressed for time recording this. But what are your thoughts on Spectre? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.